Okay, so we're just going to keep having continuing our conversation that we've been having. And I think that we might want to talk about why art is self-care, because we keep kind of talking about that.
Yeah, well, I think if you go back to childhood, right? And you remember when you created or you played or you imagined, it was fun, right? So I think the essence of art is fun, but there's also the science of play within it. You know what I mean? Like the science of play is like it actually helps your brain and it helps you socially, it helps you emotionally. So this concept that humans are actually innately born to play. I think that's the essence. It's almost like that's the beginning, if that makes sense.
And art opens that part of you up.
Yeah, yeah. It's really like even as an adult, when you're doing art, your inner child is kind of activated. You start to play. If you let go of the inner critic,
Mm.
you start going, "Oh my God, I'm having fun." If you let go of judgment, I'm having fun and I'm playing. And I think for me, the essence of what an art break is it's play, right, at its foundation.
So I feel like we sort of touched on this in our last conversation in terms of I think we were talking about a lot of different types of art making. So there's someone who, let's say their job is an artist, they're
Yeah.
a living, working artist, and they're making artwork. And we jokingly said that the reason it's called artwork is because more than half of it is work, like laborious work, because you're going to make a bunch of rough drafts before you have your final product. And I think we're talking about something different. We're talking about the process. We're talking about sort of getting your hands in there without, it's almost, I mean, play is a great word to use. Yeah.
Mhm.
As if you watch children on a playground play, there is organization there.
Yeah.
But it's almost like it's a dance.
Yeah.
It's like a dance. And
Mhm.
so perhaps we're trying to get people to the art break we're trying to get people to do is get into that realm of their mind and their body where they're not judging each other, each other's work or their own work.
Yeah.
They're just doing it for the sake of doing it, right? Art for art's sake. We've said that a
Right.
lot.
Uh-huh.
So, but what about it? So the play part,
Mhm.
is it self-care because why? Because the play does what?
Well, I think from the research that I've read is symbols and art actually connect you to your subconscious. So if you think about it, we're conscious, but we're more subconscious. And as a kid, your subconscious is more prevalent, right?
Mhm.
So it's like this is my theory. When you create art, it becomes a bridge from your subconscious to your consciousness, if that makes sense. So
Uh-huh.
you're connecting with that unknown part of yourself. So I think that's why it's play. And as a kid, I mean, you're improving, you're doing performance art, you're creating, you're dancing, your whole life. If you're not being told by authorities, you're just like having a blast, right? And that's really
Uh-huh.
your subconscious, which is creativity, imagination. I think that's what it is. It's really a bridge into that realm of your subconscious. And as adults, we're trained like, no, 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 everything's right now. It's real. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Anything that you can't see is not real, or anything that you
Mm.
can't explain is not real. But when you make art or you take an art break, you're actually dancing in your subconscious and believing in more possibilities. It's like, I
Mm,
guess,
I see.
yeah, like we're trained to live in a limited belief system, right? When actually, as children, we're made as humans to live in pure possibility and potential. Does that-
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mean, I'll say it the way I would say it. I think it's a different way of saying almost the same thing.
yeah,
I always tell people that I think the amazingness of art is it's this tool.
Mhm.
It does. I define it as a magical tool because
Yeah,
I don't really understand it.
right.
Uh,
I don't think you
you
need
know,
to. That's the
I
whole
don't,
thing.
yeah, because and it's a lot of it is my own personal experience, but also just watching other people. And there's definitely science. We read the science all the time, and I love that science is sort of catching up with the
Yeah.
anecdotal things that people have realized over time. But it's this magical tool of communication.
Hmm.
I think art is, if I'm going to say it in one sentence. And the reason I would put it in the self-care category is because it's a communication with yourself.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I think that we spend a lot of time, just like you were saying, outside ourselves. I think we also spend a lot of time putting on an act. Uh, and so, uh, and we can tend to ignore parts of ourselves that we probably shouldn't. And I think that art helps you. This goes back to the fear thing quite a bit.
Yeah.
It helps you tap into that part that you might not understand
Right.
and that you yourself kind of want you to understand. This is when it gets a little um, confusing, right? But it's this, because you can. I don't know. When I make art, I always tell people that because they're like, "Well, why'd you make this?" And my, my answer is like, "I don't know." Uh, for a good, honestly, like 5 years. I
Yeah.
don't. I know. I just part of me told me I had to do it.
Hmm.
I just had this thing inside me that I had to make.
Express. Yeah.
And as the more I look at it, the more I talk to people about it, I learn it's honestly what I was trying to tell myself.
Hmm.
Um, I still remember a professor when we were getting our MFA telling me, and this is when I hadn't admitted it to myself, that all art is narrative. And I didn't want art to be about me. I wanted, because I'm a helper, I was hoping that I could help other people through my art.
Right.
And what I didn't realize at the time is that I could do both. I think that's
Ah.
where we are, right?
Yeah.
Our tagline is take an art break, make the world better.
Hmm.
It's not just make yourself better, it's make the world better.
Right. Right.
I think we're dancing in that realm. I don't know if any of that made sense.
It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. I read somewhere that to make a line on a paper is a break in reality, right? So think
Mm,
about that. Because
yeah.
making a line is you're breaking the reality that you think is now or is real. So I think it's true. I think when you have, I think, how do we say, we're conditioned to not look inside. And now I
Mm,
think with the huge self care movement and yoga and meditation and art, which art
right.
is kind of like on the periphery for some reason, I think
Yeah.
people are, because the world's quite insane right now, I think people are going in, you know,
Mm,
and they're going within, and then they need to understand that narrative. Even if you do meditation, if you're meditating, all these random thoughts come in your brain,
right.
and you're like, okay, what, you in the mindfulness practice, you go, well, what is that? And
Mm,
so I think art is a narrative, and it's a beautiful narrative, and it's when you make that line and you break reality, right? You're actually having a conversation with yourself. And then when you have a conversation with yourself, actually talk to yourself, self-care, self-love, you know what I mean?
right.
Like be your friend, be your best friend.
Yeah.
You're like, art is a perfect way to have that conversation with yourself. And then when you have that conversation with yourself, I think you were alluding to this, the personal becomes the universal,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
it almost is like it's a bridge also to so art is a bridge. It's a bridge to understanding all of humanity. It's like we all make that one line that breaks this
Yeah.
reality, and that's what, oh my
Mhm.
God, that's what Art Break Day is, our big epic event, and we're on 10 years. It's like if we can get the world to break, make a line and break reality for that moment
Yeah.
in time,
Yeah.
the world will be a better place because we're empathizing with each other. Our personal becomes the universal. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that notion or that point that art is something that is that people can understand across languages.
Yeah.
It's a bridge. It's this
Yeah.
bridge because um you know, although every single person that looks at a painting on a wall
Right.
will most likely feel something and have something different to say about it, they can all bond because of it.
Right.
And so, uh, you know, not only is making art an act of self care for yourself, but having art out in the world for other people to talk about or experience together is almost also, I think, an act of self care because
Hmm.
connect with someone through art, I think, through that conversation that art can make people have that sort of nothing else in the world
True.
make people have. You
Yeah.
know, if you've ever, I mean, it's essentially kind of what water cooler talk is when people go, you know, people go into work and they're like, ah, did you see that movie? Did you
Yeah.
see the show? Did you listen
Mhm.
to that music? Have you heard that new song on the radio?
Yeah.
It's all art, and that is all causing connection. It's a way of almost starting a conversation with someone that you may not otherwise know to have a conversation with, and then you can kind of dive deeper into another conversation with them in a way.
Yeah.
It's also a tool of connection.
It is, and it's a tool of understanding too.
Yeah.
I would like to like kind of hint on because a lot of times when people don't like art or it's not for me. I think there's
Mhm.
a sense of they don't understand it. So I guess my question is, you know, what would how would you get somebody to understand something? So like for example, the blank canvas in the
Right. That's
Museum of
always the
Modern Art,
example I use. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
How do you, you know, because people will see it and go, you know, I mean, there's always that notion of, you know, paintings in a museum could talk. What are
Yeah.
they? What are, you know, what is said about them?
Well, that's what I always kind of, and I think there was an artist that did this. Um, I had tons of conversations about voyeurism in my critique when I mentioned this, but I said my dream was for me to basically record people.
Hmm.
They walked around my show because I
Yeah.
wanted an honest reaction, and
Mhm.
I wasn't going to get one if I was in the room,
Right.
you
Right.
know, and I think I would say to the person that sort of poo-poos the blank canvas on
Mhm.
the wall, I would say poo-poo it. And I would say do it out in the open. And that's the beauty of art is that
Uh-huh.
you're allowed to not like it. And it doesn't mean that you don't understand it. It just means that that's how it makes you feel.
Well,
That's what
that I would allude to that. Art is an emotional response, and when you're creating it, it's really evoking emotions. And
yeah.
you know, when you view it, if you don't, that's an emotion, so you don't understand it, and you're like, oh my god, my kid could do that, right? um
Yeah.
it's evoking a strong emotion within you. So mindfully, right, if you're in a museum or in a gallery, you could go, oh, why does that evoke that within me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would challenge that person to do who has this immediate, I guess I would call it a negative reaction
Yeah.
to take the extra few minutes
Mhm.
to try to understand why.
Yeah.
Why am I feeling this way about this particular work of art?
So what I'm getting now, it's kind of cool. I like how this is unfolding as we're peeling the onion of what an art break is. You know, it's a break in reality, that line that you draw, you know, and then you know you look at your emotions. What am I responding to it? Like, what are my emotions? And then you ask the why. So that's kind of cool. I like those.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So you can do this while you're taking your own art break. And you can also maybe, I mean, I guess I would consider going to museum and art break. So that would
Absolutely, it is. Yeah,
consider,
science
yeah.
stuff.
So,
It's
okay.
beautiful. Yeah.
So why is art self-care? Because it's this tool for communication. It's a tool for conversation,
Expression.
communication, conversation, um, and understanding and connection.
But also discovery. right? That's the whole thing. Like even when I paint, and I always do this. I've done this since I painted as a kid. It's like you you put it outside of you, you put it like 10 feet away from you, and I stare at it and I go, what are you going to tell me? You know
Right.
what I
What do you
mean?
want to say to
I've
me?
just
Yeah.
intuitively always done that. So it's really
Mhm.
discovery. And I always say this, like, I just created that. And, the way I create is more like intuitive and automatic. So I don't filter it. I don't do the rough draft. I just go,
Mhm.
blah.
Right.
And then in that
Right.
blah, I put it back and I go, oh, well, who are you? you know,
Right.
who are
Yeah.
you? Yeah,
I know. Whereas I'm the complete opposite of you. I'm like
right,
the ultimate planner.
right,
And I am the one that crumples up the pieces of paper and says, that's not perfect enough. And
right,
um, albeit discovering things about myself,
right.
my process just happens to be, I think, like 10 years long, I swear.
Yeah,
Because I'm still thinking about what my final show was like
right.
15 years ago. Ooh, 13,
Wow.
something like
Long
that.
time.
And I'm still thinking about it and I'm still discovering things about myself
Right,
uh, just upon reflection.
right.
And I think that's extremely powerful.
It is.
To be able to do that. And I would not be doing that with, had I not made the art, had I not gone through the process of making
Right.
the art. And was it scary? Oh yeah. Oh boy, was it ever scary? Because everybody talks about when you show people your art,
Yeah.
it's like standing in front of a room in the nude and having everybody tell you what's wrong with you. You know,
Right.
it's very much like that experience. It's basically like hanging yourself up on a wall
Yeah.
and kind of letting people say whatever they want to say about you. And I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I kind of got over the fear part in order to get to the communication part, and then the ultimate self-care part. And I mean, had I not done that, I don't, I mean, if I hadn't gotten my master's, I wouldn't have met you
Right.
and we wouldn't be doing this, which is
Right.
pretty magical.
Right.
Through that process, I discovered what I wanted to do as an artist. And it wasn't necessarily to make art, which is strange. I know it's strange to say that, but it's to get other people to make art. And
uh,
that laugh, it makes me giggle every time I say that, but that's my art.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. Art is so like no rules. Art is open ended. It's the process, and it's really like I think there is a formula on some level, and it is self care. It's a very holistic um, process. And
Yeah.
I think what we're doing through these conversations is breaking the stereotype of what art is, because
That's what I was just going to hit on is
yeah,
like, well, what do we say to those people who are right now being like, no, you're totally wrong? Because, there's people out there that they, and I guess, they don't want art to be in they don't, there are people who don't want art to be in a self-care category. I know it.
why? The question is why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That they think it takes away from it if it becomes, so
Oh, I think.
I think of the
Mhm.
okay. So I'm constantly thinking of the time that Kodak put out a camera that everybody could afford.
Okay,
And so everybody started taking photographs.
right,
And I think it was an amazing thing
right, right.
because
Oh,
people had access to art breaks at their fingertips. They could afford it.
mhm.
I don't I would argue that a lot of the art world, the photography world, did not, because it gave people this idea that they were all of a sudden a photographer.
Right, right.
Question is, what's wrong with that?
There's nothing. Yeah, so that's interesting. Okay. So what you're talking about is there's certain people like that it's elite. There's a certain group of people that like that art is elite, and it's very strong because
Oh yeah,
you have like a Sotheby's that sells paintings for $50 million. You know what I mean,
yeah,
or whatever.
right.
So you have people who do want it to be very elite, right? But that is capitalism. That's not what art making is. Do you know what I mean? That's a money making machine. I would I think what we're trying to do in our movement is saying, you know what, we're taking it back to the people. you know,
Yeah.
we're taking it back, just like Kodak did, just like when we were in the Neolithic times where everybody was an artist, or you go to Bali and everybody's an artist. It's like um, I think, yeah, that's interesting because I think a lot of it, the elite, it's almost like they want the power and they want the masses not to have the power. So there's something about that as well, you know?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, that might be what we need to talk about next time is so what so my question, the question I'm thinking of now,
Yeah,
what happens if everybody, if everyone is an artist?
right. I
Uh
think the world would be a better place.
what happens to the living artist? Is there a living artist?
Yeah, there's a living artist. I mean,
The
you have,
living still being an artist?
yeah, I would think this is what I would think. This is my in my dream world, right? I would
Yeah.
think if everybody's doing art, everybody knows they're an artist. They really know it in their heart, and they know that this is for my well-being. I'm creating every day. The artist then becomes almost like more appreciated because on some level you have the other stereotype is the starving artist, right?
Yes.
So, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of you grow up and you're going to be an artist, you're never going to make money. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's totally,
Well, I always got asked, well, what are you going to do to make money?
there you go.
Is the question I always got.
So I feel if,
What are you really going to do?
exactly. But what's your day job, right?
Right.
So it's like, I feel like if everybody's doing art and they know the power of art, really getting to the essence of it, taking our break for self-care, for self-discovery,
Mm,
self-expression, self-healing, they'll know that the power of art. And if you're artist as a profession, they'll be like, I want to collect your work. Do you know what I mean? I think people would really understand it more. I think there's
I
a,
see. I see.
yeah,
But open that part of their minds.
yeah, because there's a very big disconnect between artist, the art world, and people that are not artists. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I think I think that's where we're coming from is we felt like a huge disconnection. I mean, because we even got I don't know if you got as many grumbles as I did in my classes when I talked about art the way I talk about it now, which is that I'm not interested in talent. Got a really big scoff when I said because I'm not.
Right.
I think it's a great thing. I'm not trying to take away from people who have an amazing talent. I love it. Um, but I don't. Why does that have to limit everybody else? I think we can appreciate talent and still have other people that do the same thing without that natural talent. I guess is where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Why can't we all benefit from this thing? Um, and I think it's all based in fear, just like we
Yeah.
were talking in our
Coming
last
back.
conversation. I think people want to keep the separation because they're afraid that there won't be this commodity. But I like what you just had to say. It's almost like I still go to the doctor even though I do everything the doctor tells me to do. I exercise, I eat right, but I still want to go to an expert to make sure that I'm doing everything that I want to do. And I still want to hear what they have to say and I trust them because it's their livelihood, it's their career, it's
Yeah.
their choice of study kind of.
Also,
Yep.
I like to allude to the notion of beauty. You know, to create is to create beauty. And I think as humans, it's in our DNA that we love beauty. We love a flower. We love to see a peacock. I think that's part of it also. The notion of self-care is really, and so so if the whole world was creating and were artists, right? And
Yeah.
you would buy something that you thought that really moved you inside
Yeah.
yourself. You would buy beauty because you would want that in your space, right?
Hmm.
So that's another concept you know, of self-care.
Right. Just actually purchasing art for the act of self-care. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
of every time you see it, it makes you feel something.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then it also inspires you. Like if so say somebody buys a painting and they really love it, they could actually start to create around it. You know what I mean? Have it, it's art is, as you said, it's communication, it's a conversation, it's a relationship.
Yeah.
I always say it's like an eight, especially, it's going in and out, of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
inner, outer. And
Nice. Yeah.
yeah, it's really an amazing thing when you dance like that. You're like, oh, wow. Then, even when you go to a museum and you do that, you're like,
Yeah.
you're connecting with yourself, with it. And if you have a piece of art in your home that you love, brings you joy, that makes you feel the awe of beauty, it'll inspire you actually to create in that level. It's also about energy too. We could talk about
Right.
that, right?
Yeah. I know. I feel like we just touched the surface of artist self-care, but I think that, yeah, I think that I mean, it's just, that's what's, that's why we have to keep having a conversation, because there's so much that goes into it. But I think, okay, let's do bullet points. Let's see.
Takeaways.
We've got communication with yourself and with other people,
Also
right?
communication with the art itself, right? When I was talking
Yes.
about the
Yeah.
eight. So if
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, okay, not doing bullet points very well. This brings up this other notion that what you just mentioned in a museum of, like, when you're walking around. I love art because it connects you with the past, and it also connects you with the future.
oh yeah.
When you look at a painting in a museum, or a photo
Mhm.
in a museum, or a sculpture, whatever you're looking at, you're connecting with the art, but you're also connecting with the time it was made and the artist who created it,
Yeah.
and all the people who have experienced it in the past. You're all connected because
Mhm.
life has that experience within it. So it's this, yeah, it's this unending form of communication.
It's a portal. It's a portal to unlimited possibilities, and I think we only scratch the surface.
Yeah, I think we'll have to maybe pick up on this again next week. I like this. This is, yeah.
Yeah, I love it too. I think we're really peeling that onion, and hopefully, people will understand the power of taking an art break.
Yeah,
And
hopefully this conversation inspires them to give it a shot.
yeah, and also to look at art in another way.
Yeah.
It is communication. It is. I love what you said about it's the past, present, and future. It's like a time machine. It's so
Yeah.
it's so powerful. I always say that art is our superpower, and it really is. And the more
Yeah.
people that create and do it, I think the world will become a beautiful place.
I like imagining the world if everybody actually decided they were an artist and made art. Because I liked kind of tackling that fear,
Yeah.
because I think it is a fear. I think everybody wants to be, they I mean, they work so hard to be an expert in their field. And so, they have this fear of it being taken away from them. Oh, I worked so hard to get here, to get where I am. And if everybody's doing it, then um, you know,
Yeah.
nobody will appreciate what I do. But I think, let's go back to the photography thing. I mean, it's a joke. There are jokes on the internet about it, but I think it's true. Of, like, I took a picture of my baby in this basket, and then I had a professional do it.
Right.
I mean, I think it's amazing for a mom to take the time to take a picture of her baby in a basket, and I'm
Sure.
glad that mom or dad or whoever did it, because I'm sure it was an amazing experience. And then they went and had someone else do it
Right.
who has more practice and
Right.
has tools and the lighting, and I think both are valid. And sure, we joke about it, and I think photographers do it because they want to be appreciated for the hard work that they put into the work that they do. But I mean, let a mom do it if she wants to do it. It's awesome.
Well, I had a hit. I had a hit. You were talking about we always go back to fear. It is based on fear, but what it is, it's almost like art shows you as a unique being. Art is the only one of the only things that shows who you truly are. What you create, no one else can create, right?
Mm,
So it's really your unique stamp on the world. It's almost like you're a flower, and there's no two flowers alike. It's your
right.
gift to the world. So there might be a fear of showing their uniqueness, possibly. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm one of a kind. I'm not like
Yeah.
everybody else. So you know what I mean? I'm not like the herd. So
Yeah.
to ask somebody to create art is actually saying we want to see you, just you. We
We
don't
want
want
to
to see,
see exactly who you are.
yeah. So I
Yeah,
think
that's kind of scary.
Yeah, but you got to break through the herd mentality and go,
Right.
I'm one of a kind. I'm a flower. I'm going to show my gift to the world. And
Right.
here I go.
Yeah,
You know?
just dive in. Yeah, and I think and it's a beautiful thing when
Yeah,
you're there, right? When you get, and that's the thing, I think that's why we are on such a mission,
right.
because you and I have gotten there. We've gotten to that point with art where we are having an ongoing conversation with ourselves and the world at the same time. And it's such a magical place to be.
Yeah.
It's I don't it provides a euphoria that nothing else has ever provided. So
It's really what makes us
and
human.
why we can't stop doing this.
And
We will.
we can't stop talking about it.
We can't. We better, yeah. We better pause this conversation and pick it up next week.
All right. Taking our break, peeps.
Yes, taking our break.